Good evening. Thank you for your time to listen to this video. Tonight I would like to talk a little bit about how social pathology arises from individual pathology, how what we're used to thinking of as personality pathology, especially personality disorders, can become generalized onto large sections of entire societies, and how such generalized social pathology undermines the very existence and future of any society. Now, when I say individual pathology becomes collective pathology, and then this is dangerous and this undermines and threatens the future of a modern society, this seems fairly trivial. But let us consider one particular type of pathology, and that is Machiavellianism. In the 1970s, Richard Christie came up with this concept of Machiavellianism as a personality trait, as a particularly toxic personality trait, and it was later included in the dark triad and later different other conceptualizations of dark personality traits. And Machiavellianism is based on a fairly superficial sort of folk interpretation of the beliefs and writings of Niccolo Machiavelli, a political philosopher who used to advise rulers and who is the author of the infamous The Ruler, the book that sets out principles which Machiavelli advised rulers to abide by if they wanted to retain power, and these included all kinds of manipulation, betrayals of public trust, a kind of exclusively instrumental and almost totally immoral type of strategies aimed at increasing one's positional power in society. Now, this is a key phrase, positional power. And in this video I will briefly contrast positional power on the one hand and the actual organic, authentic power on the other. And I will show how Machiavellian disorders become generalized from individuals. They migrate to entire groups, they sort of infect entire societies. And I will show how Machiavellianism and Machiavellians confuse the two concepts of power, and how they manage to disrupt the ordinary, organic, healthy social organization which is based on a hierarchy of abilities and capacities and competences, and basically replace that healthy hierarchy and healthy set of values with completely toxic and pathological hierarchies and value systems. Now, what does a Machiavellian do? A Machiavellian seeks to compensate a sense of insufficient personal worth, personal value, and a sense of insufficient capacity and competence to authentically, truly contribute to society by seeking to increase one's positional power. So instead of having the power to transcend themselves, to improve themselves, to develop themselves, to learn new skills, to earn the privilege that they seek, to earn the social status that they seek authentically, really, truly, by becoming valuable experts or sportsmen or cooks or handymen or engineers or doctors, Machiavellians seek not to increase their authentic power, because that's something they don't really believe they can do, so they don't even try. So they don't actually work on increasing what Nietzsche believed the real power and that is the power to defeat ourselves, the power to actually become indispensable, but not because we are immersed in a network of clientelistic relationships where we can't be expelled from them because somebody would suffer the consequences because we are already part of the corrupt game and have information about other people, but because people can't do without us because we offer them something that improves their lives. The first is this concept, this idea of being indispensable because we offer a service and we have a capacity that ultimately serves the society and serves the others in the society. This first concept of power is the organic idea of power, the real power, the actual power that we can demonstrate anywhere. If you know how to mend the best pipe, you will be able to do it anywhere. You will have a competence that is indubitably and definitely and obviously necessary in any organized human group. Obviously, where there's plumbing and running water. If you know how to cure an illness, if you know how to be a good doctor, you will have an authentic power, an authentic value. If you're a good expert in anything that you're particularly involved in, if you're a university professor, a good university professor who can teach, who can research, who's curious, who has an open and flexible mind, you will be valuable to the society, regardless of your politicking and your willingness and ability to become involved in all kinds of illegitimate or semi-legitimate networks and connections which might increase your positional power but will do nothing for your actual organic power. The other type of power, contrary to this authentic organic power, which is based on capacities and abilities and knowledge and competence, is the so-called positional power. And positional power is the power that arises from one's occupying a relatively high place in a formal structure of ability to influence the lives of others. This means that positional power would have to do with positions in the public service, with positions in the social services, in the judiciary, in corporations, in terms of performing executive duties. Positional power in medicine is the power of a hospital director or coordinator of various medical units. It is administrative power. It is the power that arises from one's bureaucratic ability to influence the lives of others, to hire someone or to fire someone, to increase their salary or to penalize them through their salary. It is not the power that arises from one's ability to operate on a tumor or to be, a superb diagnostician, or to, be a talented painter, or to be a knowledgeable professor. It is the power that arises from the fact that somebody has given us the administrative ability to hurt other people or to reward other people in ways that have nothing to do with our actual competence and our actual ability to deal with life's challenges. So the Machiavellians are individuals who do not seek organic power because they don't believe that they could possibly attain organic power, and possibly they can't. Maybe they really can't. Instead, they seek positional power. And these are the people who push their way into all kinds of institutions of government. They want to be bosses to others. They want to achieve formal promotion and formal recognition through the ritualized ceremonies, a large part of which occur these days through the media and through the press. They want to be publicly recognized, publicly known, whereas in fact they don't seek to dedicate their time and effort and their thoughts and focus to becoming a better version of themselves, so to say. So once this becomes a habit, once in a society that fosters and allows Machiavellianism as a preferred way of being in society, once this becomes sufficiently widespread and people start to earn considerable amounts of money and enjoy privilege and get judicial verdicts in their favor because they are part of the privileged oligarchy. The oligarchy, which is basically a group of people enjoying Machiavellian types of positional power and employing Machiavellian strategies, the oligarchies take over the society and they militate against the organic elites. Oligarchies are groups created through the achievement of positional power based on Machiavellian methods, and organic elites are groups composed of people with actual high-level capacities to contribute to their community. So the oligarchies stifle the elites and start calling themselves elites. And this is what we have today in most Western societies. We have people who are incompetent to conduct politics, who call themselves political elites. You have people who don't understand what is culture, what is morality, what is patriarchy, what is a good organization of society. And these people call themselves the cultural elites. And all kinds of oligarchies label themselves elites. And once the elites, the organic elites, are replaced by oligarchies, the natural structure of social reality, which is based on organic hierarchies of competence, become permanently replaced by positional hierarchies of corruption. And that society basically turns off the last light and loses a claim on any kind of future. And we are now facing this with political oligarchies across the Western democracies, seeking to present themselves as elites, whilst at the same time introducing cultural, political, public policy, and other kinds of standards, habits, and values which make it completely impossible for organic elites to survive. For example, look at the woke culture, the woke ideology. This is the ideology that is designed to divide and conquer in favor of the poorly educated and low incompetence oligarchies. Why? Because the woke ideology tries to completely remove from the collective vision of a society the organic hierarchy of competence, justice, any kind of real values, and it introduces membership in a particular group as a normative social role. For example, in terms of determining who is a victim of violence or repression in society, the woke cult pushes for a vision where one's victimhood or one's perpetratorship of social repression does not depend on one's actions and one's personality, but on one's membership in a particular group, be it racial group, national group, sexual group, or any other kind of identity group. And by doing this, the woke ideology destroys the very organic fabric of society. Similarly, in security policy, the oligarchies push for the so-called surveillance state, or the security state, the state which is based on gathering an enormous amount of ever increasing and enlarging volumes of information on the citizens, installs cameras in the streets without anyone's consent, cameras in cafes, eavesdrops on email and telephone communications, and basically knows everything, forces people to offer their personal information in transactions that they must engage in order to survive in the modern society, and they can't perform those transactions without volunteering their personal information. So in all these ways, the repressive oligarchies abuse public trust, and they cause the Western society to come to the very brink of survivability and sustainability in the longer term. So Machiavellianism is a pathology that is highly infectious. It is something like a plague, a mental plague, and if it's not nipped out in the bud, if it's not removed in time, if the individuals who pursue Machiavellian strategies are not sufficiently and effectively marginalized in a society, the virus of Machiavellianism spreads extremely quickly and engulfs the entire society. And this is what we are seeing today in most Western societies, where war is presented as peacemaking, where major infections whose origin is highly doubtful, to say the least, and the medical responses to those infections, which are equally doubtful and whose potential consequences are extremely murky and unclear and worrying. All of these policies are presented as care and humanitarian vision based on a concern for the welfare of most members of society, whereas in fact they are Machiavellian manipulative strategies to control and repress. So philosophy really is the only cure to Machiavellianism, because Machiavellianism is a value illness, a value disorder, and philosophy is about values. We need philosophy because it keeps us sane, it keeps the society sane. We need philosophers to tell us about the organic values and about the moment in time, about the point when we start to seriously diverge and deviate from those organic values and start going towards our own collective doom. So philosophy in a way is redemptive for the modern democracies, and the fact that it is being marginalized, the same as organic elites are systemically marginalized, that the amount of philosophy taught at universities is constantly reduced, and the status of philosophy is changed in universities. It is now becoming an almost completely elective subject, not a mandatory one. Means that the collective capacity of people of educated people in Western democracies, the collective capacities for critical thinking and for the recognition and analysis and understanding and interpretation of values, and the ability to distinguish between true values and false values, between organic values and manipulative quasi-values, is also diminishing. So philosophy, especially practical philosophy based on videos like this one and many others, that reaches to people and reaches out to people and tries to sort of establish a critical perspective on what goes on, is the therapeutic way of dealing with the collective Machiavellianism. It is a sanitary policy, a sanitary action aimed at interrupting and stopping the disease, the illness, the collective pathology of Machiavellianism, which is not only a political strategy but the actual disorder which makes the Western societies mentally ill in the same way in which it makes individuals mentally ill. So we must fight for our mental health, for our mental well-being, both as individuals by organizing our individual lives, by focusing our attention and our energy on the real priorities rather than wasting our attention and strength on all kinds of distractions, which is another part of the woke culture and generally modern manipulative aspects of contemporary culture. And in the same way, we must fight for our collective mental health by resorting to psychotherapy individually and in groups, and by increasingly and as often as possible resorting to philosophy, to practical philosophy, as citizens and as civil groups that ultimately make up the community that is being manipulated.